So new unit. This is going to take us a while for this unit. It's pretty lengthy. Not that any of it is necessarily difficult. There's just a lot of material when you start talking about polynomials. Today and tomorrow are going to be probably the most arduous days. It's just a lot of vocabulary. Things that I kind of expect you to know, that when I say, okay, we're going to look at this quadratic binomial, I need you to have a picture in your head of what that looks like before we start on it. So today and tomorrow, just vocabulary. So you're not going to be whittling your fingers to the bone with pencil and paper so much as just like working on memorizing what these terms are. Okay, and there are a lot of them. That's why I'm splitting this up into 2 days. So some of these you probably heard me use in passing, but I really want to get them down on paper and talk about them. So here's our list of words. What do we got? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 different words. And we'll do a lot of them today and then just a few of them tomorrow and kind of work with how they work together tomorrow too. So these things that we've been working with all year so far, a lot of people misuse these terms, but it's pretty simple to distinguish between the two of them. An expression is a combination of numbers and symbols and different things put together. An equation basically is an expression that equals another number or expression. So the big difference between the two of them is that an equation has an equal sign in it. That's what makes an equation is you're looking for an equal sign. So expressions we'll talk about in detail over the next few days. Equations, we've already set up and solved a bunch of these. You'll remember like linear equations, quadratic equations. We've kind of done some of that. So you're not going to have to solve an equation and get like an x equals for me. You're not going to have to solve an expression. These are just playing around with the pieces, rearranging, looking at them, taking them apart for a while. We're not going to be solving any equations. This is all going to be on the left-hand side of this. All right, so I want to kind of throw out a bunch of vocabulary all at once and see if we can kind of make it stick on how it works together. This piece right here is called an exponent. We have used these in various classes. It basically is a shorthand for repeated multiplication. So if you were to look at an expression like 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, you could condense that down to 2 to the 4th power. That exponent tells you how many occurrences of your base you have being multiplied together. Okay, so something, and I'll kind of go back and forth and explain these as I go for them. Like 7 to the 5th power is 7 times 7 times 7 times 7 times 7. Condense it down, that's a shorthand saying, okay, 7 to the 5th power. This guy here, the x's, you probably know that one. That is our variable. Okay, I'm not so much worried about you knowing a book definition for these as much as like what they look like and how we use them. All right, the 3 different big numbers up here. The guy out on the end, I'm going to define him last. The 16 and the 13, the numbers that sit in front of a variable are called coefficients. C-O-E-F-F-I-C-I-E-N-T-S. Coefficients. They are whole number multipliers to whatever your variable portion of the expression may be. And then out on the end is your constant term, if there is one. It's called a constant because it doesn't change, whereas like the variables can change. They can have varying values. Constants are locked in. They're never going to change. Okay, so those are the first 4. Basically, homework-wise, I'm going to give you an expression. I'm going to ask you what a certain part of it is, and then you just pick the right answer. It's basically going to be a lot of multiple choice. All right, so a polynomial, and we're going to define these 4 words, and then we're going to stop for today. A polynomial is an expression that contains one or more terms. It can have one or more pieces. It's going to have some operations in it, like addition and subtraction. It's going to have some variables, and it can have multiple of them. Okay, we have different names for polynomials based on how many terms they have. So you might know a lot of these just based on the prefixes. Get that out of here. The prefix mono, the prefix bi, the prefix tri, and the prefix poly. If you're familiar with those should kind of clue you into what you're going to be looking at. And I'll go through these pretty quick here. A monomial is a polynomial that has a single term. Basically, there is no addition or subtraction separating terms. That's when you start looking at multiple terms, when there is an addition sign in there or subtraction to kind of space them out. So each of these is a monomial, even though, like these last couple here, there's multiple variables. Because they're fused with multiplication, they're considered a single term. Okay, it's definitely addition and subtraction that kind of changes this up. Binomials, two terms, they will be separated by some sort of addition or subtraction. What you need to look out for, and I'm not going to do this, but if you were to have something like 2x plus 3x, that's not a binomial because those can be combined into 5x. What you're looking for are different terms with either a different variable, different exponent, maybe a constant. So if I were to throw in, say, 2x squared on that, now it's two different terms. I can't combine them. Okay, binomials, two terms. Trinomials, three terms. Like a triangle, a tricycle, a tripod, have three legs, three sides, three angles, that kind of stuff. That's what you're looking for. So three terms. So you're going to have three terms separated by different combinations of addition and subtraction. Each of these is a trinomial. So we've actually done these guys here. That is a quadratic trinomial. This one here is a linear trinomial. Right, anything bigger than three terms. There are names for it. I took 4 years of college level algebra math stuff, and I never had to worry about names other than a trinomial. So if you run across something that has 4 terms, 5 terms, 6 terms, we're just going to lump all those together and call them polynomials. Poly as in many, many terms. And I believe that's a wrap for today. Yep. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the exponents because that actually adds an adjective that you can lump on these. So you'll have things like quadratic trinomial, cubic monomials, things like that. But worry about the number of terms today and then constant, coefficient, exponent, variable.